Hi there.
Hello.
How's it going, you guys?
Good, thank you.
Okay. Here we go. Oh, I hear some nice classic music playing in the background.
Oh,
No, it's actually in this moment, it's not bothersome or anything. It's actually
I'll leave it
relaxing.
on for a minute then.
So, I'm trying to turn on a mini heater that I have. I have a heater I've always used here next to me. I'm freezing. And it made all my power jump. So I brought an extension cord. Let's see if it works. Otherwise, I'm like dressing really, really warmly. Got a little blanket on my knees. I feel like it's an old lady. Anyway, hi guys. How's it
Hello.
going? I see. All right. Oh, hey, Justine. Nice to see you back from your trip or whatever.
Hi there.
Hi, Stephanie, Katie, Tatiana Vinogradsky. Wasn't that Susanna, or am I totally wrong? Or is that just someone else's computer? Or were you always Tatiana?
It's Susanna. I just made a mistake. I didn't sign into mine.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Just to know, I'm visual and I look at it and I go, that sounds like something different used to match with that name. All right. So just for roster's purposes, I'm gonna rename you Susanna. Was it with two N's or one N?
Two N's.
Yeah, there we go. There we are. Hi Dee, hi Arisben, hi Katie. All right. So what happened last class is that a lot of people didn't show up until 4:30, but I said today I'm starting at 4:15. So other than a couple of hellos and stuff like that, I'm gonna get going because this class starts at 4:15. What I do want you to do is to go and download some new files. And some of you guys weren't here last class, so there were 2 or 3 new files that we downloaded for last class. And now there's 4 or 5 for today. So those of you who weren't here the other day, you got to download both. So let me take you to, I'm going to share with you guys the folder. You guys need to go to sbcc.edu and sign into your PowerPoint. Now, remind me, because I need a reminder at the beginning of the day always, how many of you maybe are still in, are on VDI? Is anyone here on VDI? Oh, no.
I'm on VDI.
Susanna, okay. So if you're on VDI, you don't need to download these files, is all I wanted to say. But everyone else does need to download these files. So in case you don't remember how we do this, we go to sbcc.edu, sign into Pipeline. Then go to Student Resources. And then from Student Resources here on the far right, you'll see the Google Drive. Stop me if any of this sounds unfamiliar, but there's only a couple of you guys who are showing up today who weren't here last class. So when you get to this area, you go to Shared Drives. And in Shared Drives, you should have just Excel. Double click on Excel, and here we come into class exercises. All right, so I can, if you need to, I'll show this individually a little bit slower, but once you're in class exercises, most of this folder you already downloaded for the Excel 1 and 2. So this time double click, and today I made a folder specifically for just today's files. So there's 5 files in here, okay? So go ahead and right click and say download to the entire folder. That way you get the 5 files, the same ones. People who missed last Monday should also download these 3 that say Excel pivot table. Actually, we can get rid of more pivot table. I'm gonna move that one away. Just the 2 that say Excel 3 entered a pivot table, and Excel 3 pivot source, because in the end, that one we used for everything. So these 2 are stuff that we downloaded last week and worked with. And then for everyone else, it's what's in here, which are these 5 files. Okay. So I'm going to back up because I don't want you to do individually. I want to just download once to get all 5. All right. While you're doing that, any questions about anything that we did on Monday? I did notice that normally some people go visit the recording, but I noticed today, or at least this morning, so maybe you did this afternoon, but I noticed that this afternoon, no one visited the recordings for the class. So I want you to remember that you always will have here the recording of the day ahead. So I don't think I'll build too much on pivot tables today. I was going to do one little bit, but it basically, we spent most of the class, but we spent a lot of the class doing some other stuff about how to move files and move sheets and create new files from sheets and a bunch of stuff like that at the beginning. And then we started on pivot tables, and we did pivot tables for the whole rest of the class. So if you want to know anything about that, please watch that video. And that video, where you find it, is in the handouts of this day. You'll also see that because I just opened it, it should be at the very top. If you refresh your page, do a refresh, because then at the top of your suggested there, you should see the Zoom class recordings, and that's where you'll find the recording for Monday. Okay, so I request that you see it, so that then if you have any questions about pivot tables, you can ask me. I'm not going to repeat that class, but you do have the recording. You can learn about them, and then you probably will have questions. And so then at the beginning of next Monday, if you have any questions about pivot tables, or if right now anyone has any questions, this would be the time to talk about that, or about moving files from one place to another. All right, so anything there, you guys? Any questions about what we did last week? Nope, we're all good. All right, Doran, Dee was here. There he is. There she is. Iris Bell, Doran, Susanna, Katie, Al. Okay, you're all. Susanna, you're the only one on VDI. All right. So I'm actually going to go ahead and open my VDI on the other side. Maybe I'll just, I haven't done VDI on Safari for a while. Let me share this other screen. Okay, so does everyone have their files downloaded by now? I've got a bunch of stuff open here that I don't need. Not getting much from you guys. I'm getting blank. When I say, do you have your files downloaded? I need to hear from you. So give me a yes, give me a thumbs up, give me something to assume that things are happening, or give me a no, not yet. And then I'll know to wait a little bit longer. Okay, cool.
I have the stuff that I pulled from when we were doing Excel 1, and the stuff that we that I pulled from Monday. Was there anything else added between those?
Yeah, I just said that we added, I added 5 files. Okay. So I said, please go to class exercises. When you double click on class exercises, there's something called download Wednesday, December 1st. And there's 5 files in there.
Oh, I didn't
So
see that folder.
Please
Okay, I see it.
download that folder. I just decided, instead of jumping around and finding the ones like Monday, we had to
Yeah, that's
jump
what I was
around.
looking for. I missed that there was a folder in there at all.
Yeah, I went ahead and just, so this that I'm saying is for everyone, okay? If you came on Monday or if you didn't come on Monday, everyone has to download those 5. I was just saying, some of you missed Monday. So for example, oh, what happened with Justine? Oh, Justine was here and she's gone. All right, so I was given an example Okay, well, I just knew Justine had to answer. Maybe she dropped out with the connection broke off for a minute or something. All right. So let me share my Excel. All right, so go to open Excel. I'm still opening the VDI on the other side. So I'm gonna shift to that share right now where this VDI is coming up slowly but surely. And go ahead and let's open up. Today we're gonna work on a couple of things that have to do with more complex formulas. So I left you guys on really Excel 1. We started doing formulas, but we did some very basic formulas. And we spent a lot of time organizing data in Excel 2. And now we're going to go into a little bit more detail with formulas and functions. Okay. So, wow, my VDI is not wanting to load. Maybe if I stop sharing it, it'll work a little bit better. Give this a minute. Error. Desktop is not currently available. Oh, there you go. I think it's going now. It's beginning to go. All right, good. It's beginning to go. So I'll let it first, before I share it again, begin it to, and let's open up. For those of you who already have it, we're going to open up the sample file Excel auto functions. So we're going to open that one up first. And we spoke about auto functions. We did all of that in Excel 1. We're going to move from that to creating our own slightly more complex formulas, but we're going to start with that folder. So I'm showing it to you. I can't find, there it is. Okay. For some reason my VDI is still working on it, but this is my Mac version. That one I can work with you guys right here. Okay. So does everyone have this one open up? Let me clear up now. For now, I'm actually clearing all feedback and I need a yes from you guys if you have the sample file Excel auto functions opened up. And it's in the download Wednesday 1st. In the files that you downloaded, let me share my here we go. When you download these 5 files that are due that I told you to download today, okay, in class exercises, remember I asked you to download this folder. When you open it up, it has, and now I'm going to change to names. It has these 3 Excel, and it has sample file Excel auto function and sample formulas main project. It has these 5 files. Okay, so if you are on on a Mac, you probably, when you did a download, they ended up in your downloads folder. If you are on VDI, I'm going to share my VDI finally opened up. So if you go to your documents, Google Drive, shared drives, Excel 1, 2, 3, class exercises, and then inside of download Wednesday 1st. That way we know exactly where they are. That's the one, Excel auto function. Okay, you can double click from there and it'll open up Excel, or you could have gone from Excel file open and then just gone in to here. So now I want a yes if you have it open. If you don't have it open, I want to be able to help you one by one get it down. So Al, do you need a hand finding them?
I think I got it, but I had the formulas one instead of the sample function. Now I got the sample function.
Sample file function,
Sample
okay.
file, like, so.
All right, how about Stephanie and Dee and Doran? You have your files open? I'm basically seeing 3 of you guys who said you have them, but I haven't heard from Stephanie or from Doran now.
I've had it open. I just forgot to click the thing.
Got it. Thank you. I need to know because otherwise I can't. Keep going. All right, Stephanie, are you there? Hello, hello, Stephanie. Oh, there you got a little thumbs up. Okay, good. And Doran, I'll move on because I'm not hearing from you, but I'll move on. Okay, I'll give you a bit of a chance to say it and then I move on. Okay, so this file here, sheet 1, it says begin. Here's where we have a basic set of numbers that needs to be formatted, and we worked on formatting the first class, so I'm going to jump from there and I'm going to have us jump and go straight into the formatted version, which this is the same exact thing as that. Looks much better, same numbers and all that. Is just a little formatted version of this. Okay, and if you don't believe that, go ahead and jump from one to the other and you'll see that this is the same stuff, except for there's a number that was missing there in Atlanta that was filled up. And so here it is. So anyway, that's these numbers. Okay. Everyone good with that?
Yeah.
Now, quick reminder, just a run through of how to make a basic formula. So if I want to add up over here, these 3, and we're not going to do the auto functions yet. We're going to do these by hand because for the more complex formula, we're going to need to remember how to do this by hand. Then we're going to run through a little bit of the auto functions. And so we're going to spend a few minutes on this just to remind you how to do this before we begin on how to do something more complicated than this. So does anyone remember, if I want to add these 3 up together here, what should I do here in this cell? What should I start with? What's the first thing I should do? And we're doing these kind of by hand.
B5.
Something before that.
Oh.
Tilde, add, equals, and then the range.
All right. So the first thing I need to do, you said the word there, equals. Okay. So every time I'm going to do a formula, I start by typing in a little equal sign. Okay. Now, I have to enter. What do I enter here? Do I enter 6100? Or what?
Sum and then the range.
We're not, that's for the auto. We're not going to do the auto function. The
I'm not
auto-
doing it that way?
That's
Okay.
a function right now. Right now, we're not doing a function. We're going to do them like handmade. Okay. Because we need to work on handmade formulas for the more complex ones.
B5
So
plus B5 plus D5.
yes. So what we need to do is we need to put in what Al said is the cell reference, right? So we don't put in 6100 plus 3400 plus 4500. We put in that cell and we can enter it by writing B5, or I prefer to click on B5. That's what I prefer to do. And then it gets written for me, but you can do it either way. Then I need to put in the operation I'm interested in performing right now, which is a plus sign. Then I'm going to go click on C5. Then I do another plus sign, and then I hit D5. Right? So I'm going to sit there for a minute, but is that correct? Is that the correct formula to add these 3 up?
Right.
Hola, Gustavo.
Buenas tardes, Diana.
Buenas tardes. So let me just tell you, Gustavo, that there's some new files that you need to open up in the shared drive, and you'll find them in the shared drive, but under a folder called,
No.
whoops, let me,
Okay.
I'm going to stop the sound behind you, Gustavo. There we go. So anyway, let me just finish this up for everyone. So that's the file. That's B5 plus C5 plus D5. And then I hit the return or enter. And that gives me the total of these three. Now, just for Gustavo, to open the right file, go to open, browse, and then Google Drive. You're still on VDI, right? Google Drive, shared drives, and then go to the class exercises for Excel, and then there, inside of download Wednesday, December 1st, we're working on this one, sample file Excel. You got it. Okay. All right. So that's a handwritten formula right there. Okay. Now, the cell, which this E5, this cell, contains a formula that references each one of these three cells, I'm sorry, each one of these three cells to get the formula. This is just it's all review, but bear with me because I'm going to teach you some new stuff now. So if I drag this little handle down one, right? This works. And this formula is correct to add up these three. And why? Because this number now is being created, this total, this result is being created because the formula, although it's the same formula that was there and here, what changed is what cells it's referring to. I moved my formula one row down, so all the cell references moved one row down. So as before I had B5, C5, D5, now this one says B6, C6, D6. And now it's referencing the appropriate files. And if I double click on it, you can see which three things are being selected by this feature called the range finder, which is you double click and it highlights the cells that are in the formula. I'm gonna hit escape to get out of there. So that's basically the whole point of dragging down with this fill flash, is that the formula shifts according to where you're placing that formula. It's going to keep changing the reference. Okay. So what happens when you don't need part of that formula to change? Sometimes you don't need that formula to change. Say that we need to find out the taxes on something, and the tax is always going to be the same, right? So I'm going to give you an example of that in a minute. First of all, I just wanted to remind you of this portion of how it is that formulas work. I wanted to remind you of how to make a handmade formula. Now we can drag this one down and see that it works all the way through. And here I want to remind you of how to get an auto function. Okay, so this one we made by hand and then we drag down. Look, perfect. It's the operation was always plus. Pretty simple. Before I move on to the auto function review, any reminders, any questions, anything that's not working, anything that you need refreshed? Nope.
I'm good.
Yeah, okay. Thumbs up works for a little quickie like this. Of course, if you do have a question, either raise your hand or tell me no. Okay. Mainly need to see if you're awake on the other side. All right, so quick reminder then of, and this is what the answer that Dee was giving a little bit earlier. So do you want to repeat? If I want to do some function over here. So this was a formula and this will be a function. So what's the difference? First of all, can anyone define the difference between a formula and a function? Any inkling of what I'm talking about? And it's okay if you're wrong. I just want to see if anyone can venture to remember a guess between formula and function.
It would seem to me that a formula is a more handcrafted arrangement of cell reference, whereas the function is more of a scripted, automated function, thing of the program.
Perfect description. Perfect answer. Yes.
Thank you.
So we are pretty much hand making a formula versus a function is been created by the programmers of Excel. where they put in like a little code word for a series of things to happen. And the same operation is going to happen. It's a plus this plus that, but there's a function for it preset, and it's the sum function. So we can call it up as an automatic function. That's one way to do it. And many of you guys only know how to do it that way. And let me show you that way first. So don't drag it over. I'm going to show you a couple different ways here, but go ahead and select the cell you want your answer in. Then go up to this. And if you have your file bigger, you don't need, you see the sum function there already. But if it's small like mine, you have to click on this little guy right there. And then this will be the sum function. Hit the sum function, and it's going to come up, and it's going to give you the call name, so to say, of the function, which is the letters SUM in this case. And then it's going to open up parentheses, and it's going to give you a highlighted range. In this case, the range is from B5 through B11. Okay. And it's going to give you that range. And if it's correct, there's nothing to do. All you need to do is hit return, and that works. Perfect. Most of the time it's correct. Sometimes it guesses wrong, and then you need to correct that range. But this time the range was correct. Hit return. There's the answer. That's an auto function. Now, what happens when the function that you're going to use is not an auto function? Because an auto function are all of these actually, average, max, min. So if I go over here, auto, average, count, max, min, these are all auto functions. So we can kind of figure out how to do all of these without having to know how to write our own functions. Then here's a couple that you don't. So let me say 1 second here. I have, oh, I thought someone was coming in. I heard a ding, but no one came in. That was weird. Must have been a ding inside my house. Yeah, it was a ding inside my house. Okay, so so here let's do the exact same thing, but let's imagine that it wasn't auto. That way we can learn how to bring in functions that are not auto. So remember that I said that here the first thing we had to do was put an equal sign. For this one, we didn't put an equal sign. That's all auto function means. It's the only 5 ones for which you don't need to put an equal sign. That's the only difference. Let's go ahead and assume that I need to bring it in. And we did this before too, but I'm going to have it. This is a review because I hit the equal sign. But if I want to use the sum function now, instead of writing this plus this plus this plus this, because I'd have to go this plus this plus this, I have to do a lot of pluses. So I still want to use the sum function, but I'm going to write it in. I have to start writing S, and then all the S functions pop up, and then I'll go U, and all the S. And if I already see it right there, I can go ahead and just click on it, right? There it is. And I see sum. So go ahead and just double click on sum. And it popped in. So it just takes an extra little step. But with this method, you can bring any function that you know as long as you know its name, right? The other way only lets you bring in those 5. As soon as you need a function beyond those 5, you need to do it this way. You start writing it. It opens up a parentheses, and parentheses become really important because within this parentheses, it's asking us for the range. And so we can either write C5 through C11, or I prefer just clicking and dragging. And I've entered C5 through C11. And then don't forget to close the parentheses. Now, today you'll learn more importantly why don't forget to close the parentheses, because a lot of people say, oh, but it worked anyway without closing the parentheses. And I'm like, yes, if you're lucky, it works, but it doesn't always work with the not closed parentheses. We're going to be working on formulas today where the parentheses is very important. So just get accustomed to that. If you have an open parentheses, close your parentheses. That way Excel doesn't have to be warning you that something's wrong. In this case, it kind of would have worked anyway. There we go. We're in the same. Now we hit the return, and there we go. We've entered a function. This we did it auto. This we did the function, kind of entering it ourselves. And here we created the formula. We're doing the same thing in 4 different ways. 4 different ways. All right. Is everyone with me?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now by the same dint of what we already did, we can easily do this answer. It's going to be slightly more complicated only because the number now doesn't need to appear exactly on top. So here we're going to have to adjust that function. Let's assume that we're bringing this one in, not knowing it's an automatic one. We're going to hit equals and we can start writing av, and here's average. So we double click there and it opens up and it wants to know what to do. And now we want to average everything that's up from here to here. We do not want to include the total because that'll really skew our numbers. We're only going to average all the cities. We're going to just drag across those 5, close, and hit return. And that's our average. See, this is why the equals was more important. Had I not written the equal, had I just put in the auto function, since I'm not right underneath my column of numbers, let me give you the example. I'm going to go put in the max auto function, meaning I don't use equals and I just hit max from up here. It doesn't know what to add up. It just has it wrong. Still, it's not so hard to have it be wrong and to correct it, because again, how do we correct this? We want to see which is the highest number in this whole row. Well, we just click and drag. And there we got it. So without having to write the equal and find the max and open and close, we were able to correct it just because it was already highlighted and waiting for me. And so I hit the return and that got corrected. Now, how do we correct that by hand? Now go to min and bring in the min function. And this time it's trying to guess that you're trying to, what's the smaller number between these two, because it's got 2 numbers above. And if you just kind of hit return and don't pay attention, that would be wrong. So what about this time, instead of selecting the right one, we just write it in. So let's go and write B5 through B11. And it's already highlighted. See, when something is highlighted, the moment I go and click on something else, it deletes what's highlighted. So I'm going to write B5 colon B11. Okay. Hit return, just showing you different ways to do exactly the same thing again and again and again. So this one tells me the average of all those numbers. This one tells me which is the highest number. Oh, there it is. The highest one of all those is 7,500. This one tells me which is the lowest number in January, 1,100. And this one's going to tell me how many numbers we're counting. Okay, so do it whichever way you want. I'm just going to go ahead and write this one again, which is COU. And there it is, count. I'm going to double click and I'm going to select and I'm going to hit return. And it's telling me that there's 7 values that we're counting. Right? All of these you can just drag over and get the right numbers for all of them. All right. There's other ways that are even faster than dragging over, but for now, this is more than enough. Okay. So this that we just did was a review, but for some of you guys, if it was only one time that you'd seen that, it's kind of like, oh, bringing all this back, dredging it from deep memory. And for others of you guys who had been doing this in the past, it's like, okay, we got that. And you did it quickly. So anyone has any questions? Did it work out? Do you all have the same numbers as me? Now here we're going to work on 2 formulas that are text and date formulas. Sorry, these are both date formulas, I'm sorry. And there's something interesting here, which is up until now, we've only done formulas for calculating. That's it. This time, these 2 formulas are going to be, there's no calculation in this case, although you can calculate dates and this date minus that day, how many days it gives you and stuff like that. For right now, we just want a simple formula calculating today's date. So we're going to go ahead, and if it's a formula, what do I need to put in first? We're gonna write in a
Equals.
formula. Always equals, even if we're not, and this is important because now we're not gonna add anything up. We just wanna find today's date. So why are we putting in equals? Because that's the key that tells Excel that whatever you're writing in here is not just data. This is actually something that Excel has to formulate, calculate, figure out, okay? And then the call words, the function to figure out today's date is the word today. So I'm gonna write the word today. As you can see, just TOD does it. And over here, it's even telling me what it's gonna do. It's gonna return the current date formatted as a date. I'll double click. And it opens up a parentheses because that's the syntax of a formula. And all I need to do is just close it. That's it. So it's equals today, open and close. And once you're there, you hit return. Pretty cool.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So when you press equals and then you go for the call words, the call functions.
Yeah.
Is there a way to select them without double clicking, like a way to do it with the keyboard?
You can just write it yourself. So if you do equals today, open and close, and then hit return, that works as well. But that implies that you know all your formulas really well. And many times you don't know completely how they are. I mean, at some point you do, right?
Mhm.
But you can also just write it yourself, you know, open, close, and it works. Now,
But as far as selecting from the menu, like that's mouse only.
no, so now, yeah. Oh, today, can you go down with your arrows? Hit read, I don't know any other way. There's probably some other way, but I'm trying different things, and as you can see, that's not working. No, I think it's, I've
Yeah, when I-
only,
Yeah, when I
Yeah.
when I arrow key down and I press enter, it just kind of closes the cell and then it
Yeah.
gives me, you know,
yeah, it doesn't, no.
pound
you
name
need-
question.
You need a mouse. And you know, now that there's so much use of the iPad, they might have invented another way, but since I don't use Excel on an iPad, I don't know. Maybe there is another way, but I don't know of another way. Maybe there's some key up there that you use that you click on that's not the mouse, but yeah, that's, I wouldn't know that answer. Research it and tell me on next week. All right. So here's the thing. What if I don't know that formula? I had to tell you that formula. Right?
It looks like pressing tab auto completes it without leaving the cell.
Let's see. Equal to, and if I now hit the tab, but that's because that was only one. What if this were like sum and I have to go find the SU? Oh,
Yeah.
there you go. With the arrows, I can find the sum and then tab enters it. There you go. It works. So cool.
Yeah, I
So
was
for people
using
who don't have, so if you have to put one that you don't know, so if you do count and you're looking for count, right? You can just kind of with your arrow go down until you find count, and then the return brings it in. There you go. I'm gonna
Yeah,
have to,
I found
that
date
down
value as a function there. So I was like, ooh, that's the same thing as date, but longer. Can I do something with this? Ah, there we go.
Mhm, mhm. So there you go. Now we know. So it's the arrow down or up tells you choose, and the tab brings in the function. Okay.
Thank you.
I don't think anyone's ever asked me that, and I just using my mouse, but perfect. All right, so let's just erase that. Imagine that we don't know any of that. Let's just delete that answer. How do you find out this formula if you don't know it? Like, is there another way? Like, I happen to have known to begin with the word TO even to find the today's date. What other way can we find it? And you might notice that up
The
here,
help tab.
well, honestly, I was going to show you. No, I'm going to show you. It's not the help tab. But honestly, what I truly do is I Google it. But there's a way in here in the formulas tab, which is kind of weird because the tab is called the formulas tab in order for you to find some functions. So it's like, why don't you just call it the functions tab, please? Confuses me because it's called the formulas tab for us to be able to find functions, because these are all functions, because they're things that the computer memory Excel created. So I know it's like, come on, guys, because then students are like, what's the difference between formula and function? I don't know, because I'm going to the formulas tab to look for a function, right? Anyway, whatever. So here we go. There are all kinds of formulas. See, there I go, me saying it. There are all kinds of functions available. And in this case, the date and time function is where we went and looked, and here was the today one, okay? And you use them differently, and if you hover over them, they give you a little bit of a description. Returns a number that represents the day in Microsoft Excel date time code, or sometimes date matters as a value because there's numbers that represent a certain day of the year. They have days that are attached to them when you need to count, like how many days a month did this person work. And you just put 2 dates in there and it returns, oh, that means they worked 5 days, you know, and stuff like that. But anyway, so this, you just kind of click on them and go, ooh, I don't know, what does this one do? It does that. Ooh, what does this one do? There's some really complicated ones. There's some really simple ones, et cetera, et cetera. No one person knows a ton of functions because depending on what work you do, there's basically 2 to 5 to 7 functions that you use all the time. And that's about it. I mean, an engineer will use a certain set, an accountant, another certain set. You know what I'm trying to say? It's not like there's the need to memorize bazillions of sets. You kind of know the ones you know. After a while, you just begin to know what are the function call numbers and you just type them in. But if you ever need more, and you don't even know where to start looking, you can click on this word insert function. Okay, so show you again where I went. I went to this insert function. By the way, I'm always selecting the cell I want that function to be in, and I click insert function. And then this is every single function available. I could at least tell it if I know if it's a financial or a date or a data, like maybe I know, right? Maybe I don't know. I don't even know. So I can just go to all. But say I know that I'm looking for something that has to do with date and time, right? If you even know that, then it brings you down every date and time possible function, or you type a description of what you need to do. So you click in here and then you go, maybe today's date, you can write. Oh, you can write what's today's date, right? And you say go, and it gave me possible choices that could be with today's date. Now look at all the choices it gave me beyond the date and value. It's like crazy. See that? Look at all the options that for the word today's date. Look at all what it's doing is giving me all the functions that include as part of itself today's date. So I have never found this to be helpful at all, like never. So that's why I said, although I'm going to show you the right way to do it, I just Google it, because in Google, you just can explain with real words what you want. And it seems much easier to me to find the right one, because when I wrote today's date, I end up with so many answers, right? But if it went into this mode called recommended, but if I just say no, just under date and time, it came, and I have to read, what's the difference with this one or with this one? It returns a day of the month. How about this one? How about that one, etc. So anyway, I find that the best way to find these out is to Google. But anyway, here's the one we want. So say that you read them all and you click on them all and you finally go, oh, this is the one I want. And you say, okay, then it enters it for you. Okay. And then you're done. So that's the roundabout way. If you use Excel, I don't like this system personally myself, but there you go. It exists. All right. Hi again, Gustavo. Looks like you dropped out.
Sorry, I don't know what happened.
No problem. Glad you're here. All right. So then, so today is December 1st. If you open this file tomorrow, it'll say December 2nd. If you open this file the day after tomorrow, it'll say December 3rd. If I opened it yesterday, it was said November 30th. Okay. This truly is today's date. It's not going to stay static. It's going to change every day you open this file. It'll give you today's date. Okay. Now, there's another one called now, and I'm going to just put that one here. Now, also open and close and hit return. And that shows you this exact moment in time. Why would this be necessary? Well, sometimes you need to get a real capture. Say I print this right now for a meeting that we're going to have. And someone goes, where'd you get those numbers? The numbers have changed. Now we have, 120,000. And I'll go, well, by 5:55, these were the numbers I had. Yes, at 7 p.m., someone came and added some new numbers, but that's why I wrote the example of printed on. This is the moment I'm going to print this file, then at least it's registered. And you'll see that it's going to make a difference. Why is it not? The seconds should be moving. Huh.
I'd probably use the now function just to figure out what the hell the date is.
Yeah. There's one that shows you the seconds. Oh, I didn't do the whole equals second. Oh, that's not going to work. There it is. It worked. It changed. So here it's already down to 5:03:29. Before it was at 5:03:05. So it keeps changing. Okay. You need to just refresh it for it to change. Before it said 5:02, 5:01. So now I brought this word printed on because I want to show you a little bit quickly about printing, which printing in Excel is not necessarily the easiest thing in the world. We're going to go ahead and say that you would just want to print this, right? Just as is. You click somewhere out here and you go to File, Print. This is a little bit different on the Mac or on the PC, so I'm going to show both examples. I'm going to go to File, Print, and I'm going to share both screens now, both Mac and PC. No, not that one. Where's my? Oh, here it is. These two windows. Oh, no, that's not the one I want to share. Yeah, that's fine. That's sharing the same. Okay, so you've got the Mac. Are you seeing both versions? So for the Mac, I have to go up to the top, to the window at the top, and I have to go to File, Print. And this is how it looks on a Mac. Do you have, oh, you can't, it's not sharing. Hold on, I need to drag it to this window for it to share. I have it on a different window. Are you seeing both now? Hello, are you seeing both my Mac and my PC versions?
I see both of them, yes.
Okay, okay, so now I'm going to say File, Print for my Mac version. And as you see, the windows for printing is very different because truly the print portion really is part of the system OS, and the Windows OS prints very differently than the Mac. So here's where there's some differences. So I wanted to show both. So say that I want to print this. What I don't like about the Mac version, it has a very tiny little print preview, right? It's this little mini thing and you have to guess and hope that it's good. On the PC, on the other hand, you have a big print preview, so it's a much nicer print preview for the PC. This is a simple little formula that all fits in one window. So there's no real big problem. You can just say print and everything's going to work on both sides. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to open some bigger file with a lot of other stuff. But first, let's go back. And one way to avoid, so I'm going to cancel print on both. So basically I went back and I canceled, but on both of them, look what happened. That wasn't there before. Do you see something new right there? This little dotted line. You might have not noticed it before, and it's not because you didn't see it, it's because it wasn't there before. And both on Mac and PC, once I went to print, suddenly I see a dotted line.
I take it that's a printing range.
Mhm. It's indicating what the size of my page is. So if you pay attention to it and go back to file print, it's marking this area. It's basically marking what this page area is going to be. You guys see that? It's
Mhm.
about yay big and about yay longer. If I back out, there it is. You can see that there's more space there and more space down there. So that's showing you that you could safely add at this point 2 more columns and we'd be fine, right? Now, do me a favor here. Let's go ahead and to teach you how to manipulate columns a little bit. What we're gonna do is we're gonna move this column over, okay? We're gonna move this column over until we're gonna put January, February, March, April, May, June. Thus, our total is going to end up over here, kind of in column H. So watch what I'm going to do. You can't do this from here. You can't do this individually. You shouldn't even like try to select only the data. You should try to select the entire column. So I'm selecting from the letter E up there. And I'm going to do it also on my Mac right here. Select from the letter E so that my entire column, anything that's underneath. Now, over here, I put my mouse. I have to grab this entire thing. So over here, I enter data. Over here, I am selecting. Right on top of the line, I get 4 arrows. You see my 4 arrows? 4-headed, cursor. That's when I can move. Now I can click and I can drag this information over until it drops in my H column. Oh, I have a merge cell there. Okay, I haven't shown you about merge cells. Just trying to drag this information. There's a merge cell here that I hadn't shown you yet. Let's go ahead and do this. Select these 2 columns, these 2 cells. I haven't shown you merge cells, have I? Select these 2. Let's go back let's go back to home. And let's unmerge. So go over here and this little arrow that's right above. You can click on unmerge. And I'll tell you about merging cells in a minute. And the Mac, take these 2. And it's that little icon right there. You can unmerge. You can also just click on the same one, right? And it'll unmerge. So it's on and off. Okay. But, ideally, you'll go and find the right thing, which is unmerge. Okay, so everything is unmerged right now. And what happened is that travel expenses in first quarter are gonna kind of dump themselves over. Okay. Did that work for you guys? I'll tell you a little bit more about merge and unmerge. For now, just do that and kind of trust. Okay, now grab this column E, grab this little 4-headed arrow and drag it all the way to H. And do I have another merge cell?
It's the printed on line down there.
I have another merge cell there. Darn it. Okay, let's unmerge that one. I think that's okay. That's a good, you know what? Go ahead and unmerge that one because it'll be a good example to show you why would you want to merge or unmerge a cell. So actually go and click December 1st. hit unmerge, and that'll be a good example to teach you about merging or unmerging cells. Okay, because that'll happen. Leave it there for a minute. I'm going to go do it on this one. I'm going to unmerge this one as well. There we go. Okay, so first let's do what I was trying to do, and then I'll teach you about merging and unmerging cells. What I was trying to do is to grab this, this column and drag it over to H. Yay, finally it's letting me. What? Okay, that was because of VDI. Okay, and now I'm going to do it on the Mac. And in here on the Mac, this looks like a little hand. When I got the right place, here I have the big X, here I have the arrow, and here I have the hand, the little grippy hand. That's the way to move. Okay. Make this a little bit bigger because it's kind of small and hard for you guys to see. Okay. So did that work for everyone? Did we move that to column H?
Mhm.
Right.
Arisbel, Stephanie, Gustavo, Susanna,
Yeah,
Doran,
I
little
got
thumbs
it.
up. Got it? Okay. So now we've moved our stuff over. And for a second here, remember how I showed you about the fill windows? Oh, Susanna. Okay. Do you need a hand with that? What didn't work?
I lost the part where mine just says it's merging cells.
Okay, so you need to unmerge, and I don't know, did you unmerge? You had to select these two and head over to here and unmerge them. And then then we had to select this printed on it. It had a date on it, and you needed to unmerge that. So those two need to be unmerged before this is going to work. And now I'll explain you merging, but for now, just do that. Do you need to share your screen to show me something, or did it work now?
I just need the date unmerged,
Yeah.
which I just did.
Select that date, unmerge that one, and then you'll be able to move it over. Okay, so basically what I'm doing is I moved it beyond the comfortable printing line. See, it's like I moved it to the second page. You guys see that?
Mhm. Right.
Somehow on the Mac, this ended up on the third page. I must have a bit different formatting or something on this one, because now it's like 2 columns away. On the PC, it's 1 column away. I don't know right now, the settings. All right, so I want to extend this for the next 3 months. So I can grab these two, January and February, select both, and grab this little box and just drag, and it got filled up for me.
Ooh.
Okay, grab these two and drag over, and that'll fill up for me. Pretty cool. Now the numbers we don't have, so we'll have to invent, right? We'll just have to. So for now, just for ease sake, let's select this, make a copy. Okay, Command C, Control C, or right click copy, whichever you prefer. And then what we're copying is this entire set here. So we have the same exact number of cells available. So all we need to do is click on the top cell and say paste, or Command C or Control C, or right click paste, and the same set of numbers will paste, and they have the exact same amount of space. So it'll work. You won't get anything overwritten. If you didn't read the amount, leave the same amount of space, then it wouldn't work. It would cover over that, but it works well. Okay. So let's assume that the numbers it makes sense for them to have completely copied over, which wouldn't necessarily be realistic, but there we go. All right. And now let's grab this formula and drag it over, and let's drag from this one from here over, and there we go. Now we've got the same thing. So we can basically do this, drag across all 3, do this, drag across all 3, and here we have a perfectly good setup. Albeit the numbers are exactly the same ones, but it still works for all those months. Okay. Did it work now, Susanna? You're all okay?
Yes, I moved the column.
Okay. So whenever you're done creating this little guy, both sides, give me a little yes, so I'll know to move forward, and give me a no if you're stuck on something that isn't working. Don't like be embarrassed or something to say no, because it really matters to me to help you get here with me. All right. Stephanie, you there? Susanna? Any questions? Something not working?
How did you fill up all the data for,
So I selected the data that I had, made a copy, Command C, Control C, or right click copy, whichever you prefer. And then I selected April, row San Francisco, and I pasted. So I'm gonna, if I get rid of all of that stuff right now.
okay, so it's a flash fill thing that you can do.
No, it wasn't a flash fill. This I copied pasted. This I didn't flash fill anything. It was a complete copy. So here I'm gonna clear out all this information. Clear all that information. I literally selected this copy. Okay. And if you like to copy from up here, you click that. That's also a copy. Okay. Then you select the top left cell of where this is supposed to fall, and you paste. Okay, so you can do right click paste, Command V, or you can click this little paste right there, and it fits right in there. Okay. Did that work? Do you want to share your screen if you need a hand? Sometimes it's easier than showing to just have you share, and then I can show you that way. Do you want to share your screen, Susanna?
I got it.
You got it? Okay. And it's fine, tell me no, I'm working on it, or no, I need a hand. So either way, fine. Okay, almost everyone has answered. Not hearing from Stephanie. Are you writing in the chat percent, Stephanie? I'm noticing I'm not looking at the chat. Okay. Oh, yeah, Katie. There we go. All right, cool. Thank you. All right. I have so many things open. I wasn't checking the chat, and you were answering. Stephanie was answering on the chat. Okay. So here we go. So what is this whole merge cell thing? Well, as you can see, some things are too big. The answer here is December 1st, 2021, whatever. And I can't just remember what this means, what these little icons mean, perchance. Is there something wrong with this formula? Is this a mistake? What does this mean?
It doesn't fit in that.
It just means it doesn't fit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I were to double click up here, my entire column would spread out enough to fit the biggest thing, which is that, but then my whole thing would look really weird, right? Like that doesn't really make sense. I don't want to destroy my whole column for that. So I'm going to Control Z or Command Z to undo that. Okay. So I'm going to undo that thing. I want it to stay that way. That makes the whole thing look better, but I want to see this number. So what I need to do is I need to make this be big enough. So one thing you can do is you can merge two cells. So this here is a merged cell because this had the same problem. This already has been merged. I figured out I needed two cells for it, so I merged them. So here, I think we were going to need 3 cells. I select 3 cells that this can spread out. I select these 3 cells, and then I go up to this icon right there. And if you want to, you can merge different things, but you can just click on that one icon one time and it merged them. So this now becomes one cell. And now I can't select anymore. C2, C20 has disappeared. This is only B20, and the next one that's available is E20. Like C20 and D20, they've disappeared. They don't exist as possible cells. Okay, and this here now is 2 cells merged, and the head up here, this whole thing, now we can go ahead and do that, and we can select all of this for this to be merged as well. Oh, I shouldn't, sorry. You need to select the whole top row first and merge that. So there's the centered travel expenses and then the first quarter. Actually, that doesn't work because I moved over to the next page, but anyway, you get the idea. And that's a good way to have this be one cell, but that's why we couldn't select this entire row, because this is not a cell. This is only an A1, and the first available cell up here now is a I1 and an I2. H and G and F, they disappear into this one merged cell. Okay, so that's what was happening. I just wanted to explain the merged cell because otherwise it's like, why was that not letting us? So I'm just going to redo that here quickly on the Mac. I need to make this a little bit bigger for my cell merging to work. And then I'm going to do that to merge that headline. And I'm going to select all those to merge that. Usually you wouldn't go across pages like that, but that's okay, just to show you this. Okay. So how are we doing? Everyone's okay with this?
Mhm.
All right. So by the way, the automatic merge is really a merge and center, not just merge. So notice that this number here is centered, and that's why travel expenses in first quarter centered, because usually you use it for things like headlines. But in this case, it looks weird to have this December start there and this one start here. So you can go back to the alignment and move it to the left again, just so that they correctly align with the other number, just for looks sake. Okay, but anyway, relatively unimportant. The other thing I wanted to show you is that if you have this, if you're accustomed to aligning left or right, notice that if I were to make this be a much fatter, we've been working on making wider first columns and stuff, but we can also make wider rows, right? So if I make a wider row, the reason this is staying centered and this one is also staying centered is because you can center amongst the entire cell. So and you're accustomed to doing only left, middle, or right align, right, on things. But here in Excel, you can also go top, middle, or low align. So you could have decided to go low and right, or left and top. You see that? You can move them all over the place. And right now I have this one at half and half, middle and middle. Does that work? Move your stuff all over the place so you can get a feeling for how you can format things. Moving them in these 9 options to go bottom, middle, or top. And then right, middle, or left. And we're going to choose to leave them all middle, but I'm explaining a little bit about cell alignment. Any questions there?
Mm-mm.
Okay. This was all
I did observe something just now.
yeah.
When I'm clicked into a regular cell, the styles are like stating one thing, but when I click into that travel expenses merge cell,
Mhm.
they seem to change, and I'm not certain why that is.
What do you mean by style? Show me what do you mean by styles? Which one? This styles, the cell styles you mean, or do you mean the formatting?
Let me just screen share.
Because style, okay, let me stop my share. And you share yours.
So like usually these
hold
are
on,
up here
hold
like this,
Hold
but then when I
wait,
do this, they do
wait,
this.
wait. There we go. I needed to retrieve you from the bottom of all my different windows. Okay, tell me again.
So usually like these style theme things or whatever are like this up here.
Yeah, cell
When
styles. Mhm.
when I click this, they change to these.
Let me see. really quickly my sales styles that are available. Oh, shoot, I'm in the, okay, so these sales styles that are available, I'm looking at mine. I have these options. And this one. No, it's just because the one that's chosen is that one. Okay, I know it. I just needed to see it in big. So the thing is that the top one already has a style that it's been chosen, which is that 60% accent. Okay, and so, but if you want to see all the styles, go over to the right of, and see those two and click on that. Yeah, click on that right there. And these are all the options that you have. And that one jumped to that one because it's in the bottom right. See how the 60% accent went to the
I
right?
see.
It's way down there. So it
Yeah.
jumped to that.
So it's just presenting subcategories for
yeah,
the already
because
selected
that's
style.
because that
Okay.
is the style that is being used for that top one. It's a 60% accent with that font, right?
All right.
And as you hover, go ahead and move your mouse around the others just to show others. Go over these other colors and see how it's alive. It's you without, it just shows you different options and versions, and then you can choose one or the other. You guys, if you want to change your formatting for that one, go ahead, but that's the one that had been chosen. So that's why I was showing you that subset versus when you were selecting another cell, it just was, go and select the first cell that you had originally done. There's no, there's nothing special in that one. So when you go up to the top, go back to this, be on that 6100. Now go to the cell styles, click on that. And it's showing you from the beginning because this is basically in the top left normal. So it's just showing you that because there's no other style for it. It's just normal. You can go and choose something else for it. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
So that's why I was showing you that. You're welcome. All right. So here we go. Let me move this little window out of the way. And I had made mine bigger to see your sample. My alarm is telling me, is it already possibly mid-class?
It is almost 5:30.
Yikes. Time flies when you're having a good time. All right. Or at least let's hope you're having a good time.
I am.
Thank you, Dee. At least you're having a good time. I only see Al. Everyone else is I'm in the dark. So, thank you, Arisbel. Thank you for the little heart. Oh, Stephanie. Okay. Hopefully, you're okay. All right. So let's do this. I was about to share my screen again to move on, but I'm noticing that it's probably time for a quick break. So let's give her a 10-minute break here, you guys. And then continue. So it's 5:29, basically 5:30. So meet back at 29:39 p.m. Okay, see you guys in 10 minutes. Go and stretch your legs. All right, I'm back. Are we back? As you can see, I keep putting more and more clothes on. I'm getting colder and colder. It might possibly be, I just came back from getting a booster shot. I had a booster shot like 20 minutes before class started. No, half an hour because I had to wait for 10 minutes. Then I just like sped home. So maybe I'm just, I mean, I didn't get many
Get it in the other arm?
side effects. No, I got it.
In the
got it.
same arm that you was,
It's my left arm. I can't like have my right arm not be useful. And last time I didn't get any other horrible side effects, but I did get my arm hurt. So I got it on my left arm. But my arm is not of course 100% okay, but it is much better. See, I can move it up and down now. So it's I can't move it sideways much yet, and I can't, but the pain I had that before, that intense pain I had, that's gone.
oh,
Okay. But I am like putting more, I've got this like thing on here. It's kind of crazy, but I keep tying up all these clothes. Okay, guys, I've talked enough that if you were walking around the house, you probably heard me. Come on back. Let's move forward. I'm going to share my screens again. And here we go, that one and that one, those two screens, and here we go. All right, so I'm sharing these two screens. So what I wanted to show you now is, well, how do you handle printing something that's too big? In this case, it's only too big sideways, right? So one option here might be to just flip to landscape mode, but there's a couple of other options. So if I first go straight to file without changing anything right now, and I try to print this, file print, what is it showing me? It's showing me that only these can
It's showing you have
be
two
printed.
pages.
Yeah, and then it's showing me a page number 2 right there. And it's just going to print 2 little columns for number 2. Can you imagine how utterly useful it is to get a printout of this like that? It's like really useless. I'm going to go ahead and show you now what the Mac would show me. It would go to print. And over here, it also shows you 2 pages. And here's how you go to the second 2 columns. Okay, 2 columns that way, and here 2 columns that way. Okay, both ways. The Mac is a color. It shows me a color preview. The PC is showing me a black and white preview, et cetera, but basically it's the same thing. Okay, so we're not going to print. I don't know how many of you guys have a printer not available. We're not going to actually print. You can do that on your own. Just going to show you some of the options of how do we fix this. Well, one way to fix this would be to just change the portrait orientation. I'm going to go over here and just make it landscape. And that might work. Did it work? I'm going to go
It
over
seems
here.
to.
It seems to have worked. So over here, I'm going to go to orientation portrait to landscape. Cool. So there you go. That works. But what if I can't print this landscape? It just doesn't work with the way I'm going to set the booking, you know, the handout. Say that I don't want it printed. So, you know, the first thought when you just have a little bit extra columns is to go landscape. That usually works. But say that this wouldn't work, right? So let's go back to portrait. Landscape orientation, let's go back to portrait. For some reason, we really need to print it out in this mode, in this direction. So then we have a couple different options. One would be to just ask the computer to print to fit over here. So I'm going to go over here where I would have had otherwise 2, and I can click on scale to fit. So what happens is it all got much smaller. Even if I had requested font, you know, size 0.12 or 0.15 or whatever, it forced it to fit into the page. Okay. Scale to fit, that worked. Let me go over here to, where's my scaling, where it says no scaling right now. See the very bottom choice, no scaling. I can say fit sheet on 1 page. Okay. And then over here, it's did the same thing. Okay. So that's the scale to fit on a Mac and on a PC. A little bit different. Got it? But the result is exactly the same. Now we have everything made smaller. When you have a ton of stuff, that doesn't work. It becomes really tiny. Once I remember going to I was at a board meeting and someone brought in the Excel sheet for the budget and they had made it so tiny. It was like little ant dots, the numbers. It was like they were trying to get us to not know what was happening. It was a joke. I'm like, no, there's only so much how small you can make it, right? But anyway, that's another way to do it. Okay. Now, let's undo that. Let's go back to fit on what sheet and say no scaling. So I'm going to go back to having it not fit. Go over here to turn off that scale to fit. So we're back to it being 2 pages. Okay. There's another option is to change the margins. Maybe if we change the margins, meaning less empty space around, it might fit. I'm not sure if we can change the margins enough to fit 2 columns in here, but we can give that a try. So this is normal margins, and I can try to give it narrow margins, and I'm going to click on that. And it brought 1 in, brought 1 more in, but not 2. How about here? Normal margins, narrow margins. Yeah, it went to June, but I'm still missing, right? I'm missing the totals, right?
My first thought was to thin out the columns.
Yeah, right now I'm just handling what can you handle from the print menu.
Mhm.
There's other stuff we can do inside the menu itself. You can thin out the columns, you can change that, but just kind of giving you options so that you can see how to change some of this stuff around. Okay. Now, let's go back to regular margins, which is normal margins. And back here, we're going to go to normal margins. So we're basically saying, okay, no, I don't know how to use any of these. What's one other way you can do this? Let's back up. And here, let's say cancel. And there, so all of that would have worked. Had we pressed print, we would have had a landscape version. We would have had a one that fit by scale to fit, or we could have, the only one that wouldn't have worked enough was the margins. We could have gone to custom margins and actually made the margins a little bit thinner even, and it might have fit. But anyway, let me just show you something from here that you can do. One option, which is right now, is what Dee just said, is just make the columns a little bit tighter. And that's a good idea. Let's try that. And how do I do that? If I just double click only on this one, it'll make this one smaller, right? But if I click on all of them at the same time, like I can go ahead and select all of these, like all the way from the top, and then go over here and any one of them, because they're all selected, give it a little double click. All of it got kind of crimped at the same time. They all self-fit at the same time. You see that? I'm going to undo that though, because although that is fitting, it is too crowded. It's going to be so hard to understand that. Let me undo that and say, no, I'd like that space. But just so you guys try it, when you want to do more than one page to be, somehow I hadn't merged that one. When you want to do more than one page to be auto fit, you can double click, select them all from the top because you're selecting the column itself. And then just double click in the middle line of just any one of them, and all of them are going to auto fit. I'm going to undo that. That would have been another solution. The final solution is the following. And it's kind of like the print to fit. I can select the part that I want printed, even if it's outside of that second page. So I'm going to go from bottom rightmost corner to the top, or from the top to the bottom rightmost, it doesn't matter. Just select everything that you want to fit in your print with no extra spaces. Okay, no extra spaces. So you are setting the print area that you want. So now you're just saying, this is what needs to fit in my page. That's it. Just that I need all of this. I can't leave anything out. Then you go to File, Print. Interestingly enough, File, let me go here to File, Print. Okay, so now you know how much needs to fit. And the reason this works right better is because what I forgot to mention, suppose that you only had to print part of this. So right now I'm having us print everything, so the results are not going to be different. But say that I have this whole thing that needs to print, but I really only wanted to print, say, these 3. So in this example, let me give you that. Say I really only needed these 3/4, for example, for some reason. I just need these 3/4 and you have everything printed. If I now go say file print, so when you select ahead of time what you want to print, did I show you that? Hold on. There's a thing called print area. So when I go up to, it's just that you guys in the Mac have to go all the way to the top. It says file print, and see I have a page setup or print area. You see that? So I can say print area and set print area. And now that little bit became the area that I'm going to print. And because I've selected it. And now when I want to go print, it's only going to show me that area. Like I set the print area for printing. See how it's only the subset of April, May, and June when I go see my print preview. Okay, so that's another thing you can do when you want to do just a little subset of it and then print it. And then over here, I had self-selected everything, but now I can just say print active sheets or print selection. So now it's going to show me the print selection. Why is that not resetting itself? Let me go back. Did I select everything? Yeah. I guess because it's on, I'm selecting everything. File print. There's no print area on the PC area, but there is the print selection, but it's not automatically resetting for it. So I guess we're just going to have to go to scale and fit on one page, which in the end is the same I had done before. And then it's going to reset. So I didn't know that there was no print area for the PC. Interesting. All right, well, there's no print area for the PC. So here all you can do is make it go smaller. But on the PC,
you did select everything on that one as opposed to just like 3 columns or though, didn't you?
You're right. So say that I try to do only the front 4 of those. And I go to print. Okay, if I have, okay, so I need to say, so I can't preset a print area. I just need to go straight to print selection. And then it does give me that little bit. So I guess instead of print area, it's print selection. That's a little bit different on one side than the other, but it works either way. Oh, but I had already the print fit sheet on one page, so then it doesn't need to do that. Now, another choice is to say fit all columns on one page or fit all rows on one page, right? So without doing a pre-selection, I have to back up and delete that selection. So click somewhere else and then go to File, Print, and say, okay, print, sorry, no scaling, fit all columns on one page. Oh, I have a print area still. Yeah, here I had a print area, print selection. So I have to go back to print active sheet or print entire workbook because I had it still under print selection. So I had only one set selected. Where am I? Page sheet. There we go. Was trying to print only one cell. So I'll go back to print active sheets. So it's going to the sheet that we're working in. And then down here, I'd go to fit all columns on one page. So then it shrinks itself to fit all the columns onto one page. This ends up being much more centered than when I said than any of the other options because it just makes it be big enough within those margins. Okay. So anyways, you can see there's lots of different versions of how to print, and then you would finally go ahead and print. I'm going to cancel that. If you have a printer, you can test to see how each of these work. Right here, I'm not going to have us print them. You can also collate, all that kind of stuff like you had before, but it's the print area that's a little bit harder. Let me back off and show you one last thing. You can also go over to print page layout tab. And before you go to the printer, handle all that from here. Like here's where you can set a print area, or you can print tiles, or you can choose what to do. So here's where you can go ahead and say, I only want to print these 2 rows and set that as the print area. Okay. All right. That's enough for now. I have, for as far as printing, I'm going to move on to something else, but when we open a file with a lot more data, go ahead and try to print that and you'll see the pages divided into 4 or 5 pages of stuff. But right now we don't have one of those, so we can't do that. So right now, I want us to finish up what I'm going to show you here. And what I wanted to show you, is it set up on the same page? Yeah. So what I wanted to show you here is the difference between a couple of different chart situations. So I'm I'm looking at the time because I wanted to go to a more complex formula, but I also have this one set and ready to go. And this is really great round for showing you a chart. So I'm going to show you the charts first, because that way we don't have to open a different file. To do the complex formulas, we're going to go to a different file. So let's work on these less time moving files around. So here I want to see, I'm going to set up 2 different types of charts to analyze this data. And if you go to insert, you can see that there's tons of different types of charts. Okay. In fact, if you want to see all of the charts, if you go over here and click on like each one of these, it'll show you that in 2D column, there's all of these types of 2D column charts. If you have, this one, you have all those kind of charts and stuff like that. So if you hover over it, it gives you an idea of what kind of charts they are. It gives you a little sample of it. Now, notice that it's giving you an idea of what it's going to look like. I haven't selected anything yet. It's basically kind of recommending what kind of charts would be best for this type of data. Now, if you pre-select data, it's better, because the thing that makes a difference between one chart or another here is what kind of data you have. So say that I want to find out what sold most in what city. So if I just go, if I select from up from the top where it says January through June, and I select, for example, all this data, which is a bunch of data, right? And I have January to June, and I try to make a chart of that. It's going to be, let's see what the recommended chart is. And it's showing me, let's click on recommended charts, and it's showing me a bar chart, how it would look. And over here, it's giving me like the key for January, February, March, April, May, June. And then each of the different numbers is going there. It's showing what it would look like over there, a side chart, this kind of chart. It's all the same data. It's giving me ideas of the charts and the different ways I could represent all this information. Okay. Some make almost no sense. Like, what would this mean to anyone? It's bizarre. So you can begin to see how some don't work and some work much better. What kind of chart do I choose? Nah. For the most part, there's so many fancy kind of charts, and there's some that are much more useful to you. Now let's select different kind of data. Let's go and say that we're going to select San Francisco and all of its, San Francisco, the cities and all of their datas. And we're going to get the month. So we're going to grab from here, from this empty box right there, and drag all the way down. Don't include the totals, just the data, the cities, and the months. And then start, you can, this time, instead of going to recommended, let's go and hover on how it would look if I were to go to a 2D column. If I were, now it's got 3, before we only had the January, February, March, but now we have January, February, March. Oh, as soon as I try to point to it, it disappears. You guys looking, I can't point to it without moving my mouse, but over there it's showing me not only in January, February, March, but also San Francisco, LA, Philadelphia, Chicago, and amount. So it's dealing with 3 totals, 3 different kind of items. It's got months, cities, and totals included in this chart. And that's because now I selected months, cities, and numbers, right? versus had I just said San Francisco, Boston, and numbers and left out the months. Now it's going to show me, you know, San Francisco through Boston, the numbers, and then it's still, all the data is showing up as series 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down there. By not having selected January through June, it still needs that data because the columns are still in that data, only they become this like unknowable numbers. So what you select makes a difference in the chart being viable. Now, what if you want a pie chart? For pie charts, the best way to get a pie chart is only to select 2 sets of data. What do you mean 2 sets of data? There's so much stuff here. Well, maybe what we want to do is find out how much was sold per city, comparing our cities. So I'm going to select and compare my cities by clicking and dragging cities. And then I want to select my totals. But when I go select my totals, my city selection disappeared. And when I go select my city selection, my totals disappeared. So in order to select non-continuous data, I'm going to select San Francisco through Boston, hold down my command key if you're on a Mac, control key if you're on a PC, and now select my data for my totals for those cities. Okay. If I were to go to recommended charts right now, you'll see that now they're probably going to be recommending a pie chart that wasn't recommended before. See that? I'm going to cancel and let's go straight to pie charts because the pie chart didn't even show up as an option before because it only works if you have only these 2 sets of data. So now I'm going to hold on to that. I'm going to hover over a basic chart, a 3D chart, a donut chart, one that has a little subset or insert. Okay. Now, right now, I'm just going to go for the basic 3D pie chart. Say okay to that. Anyway, so that gives me a chart. Okay. Now, let me make this a little bit smaller. Move it over. I'm going to grab it from this blank area that's back here to move it. So I'm using kind of this background area to move it so you can see both things at the same time. Make this a little bit smaller. There we go. So you can see the data and the chart. Okay. I'm going to click away. So everyone, hopefully you've done this with me. Make this pie chart. And what I did it is from San Francisco, Dallas, and Boston and their totals. You can also have decided that you want to know the months. And I'm going to hold down control and the totals for the months. And I'm going to make another, I'm going to insert another pie chart for that, right? So here's a different pie chart and it's just has different data. But I don't want to, from the same data, you can find the average. Right now, I only want one of them. Okay. Make it a little bit bigger so that you guys can see this a little bit better. Okay. So I can make it bigger or smaller using these little outside handles. See, bigger or smaller. Leave it kind of that size. You guys can see it a bit better. But this is a basic pie chart format. And it might or not be the best way to show me my information. I can change this data around very simple. So you saw how easy it was to get a chart. Looks very impressive. It looks awesome. All it did was select the right data. Yeah. But before I go into making you change the data around, let me show you the most important thing. This is a live chart. And what I mean by the most important thing, let's choose one series. And if I hover over here over the chart, it tells me this is series 1 point Dallas values. So when I hover over it, it's telling me this one is Atlanta and this one is Chicago, right? See if you're trying to figure out which one it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this orange one, which is Los Angeles. Okay. And the value right now is 23,855. So it's taking that number there. And I'm going to go ahead and just show you how linked these numbers are. I'm going to go ahead and go to this first to this last number, Los Angeles, June. And I'm going to add a 1 in front to make it 18,000. So it's way bigger than anything else. I'm going to hit return. and watch how this recalculates. Hello. Hello. It didn't get, it wasn't too much bigger, so 180,000. Why is that? Why is my chart not updating? It never doesn't update. How bizarre is that? Oh my goodness. Oh, because oh, so sorry. Remember when we moved this, we added these here, but we didn't fix, see how the number is still 23,000?
Oh, yeah.
We didn't extend, we didn't correct these formulas.
You needed to.
So I'm like, what is so wrong here? We need to extend this formula. See how this is wrong? This is only adding up the first three. We need to fix that. We need to add these three to that. Okay, so, this example, I need to add this one plus this one plus this one, hit return, and then drag this down. So sorry about that. So let me start again, because if you guys didn't follow through with what I just did, it's a disaster. So anyway, here I'm showing you how live it is, and I'm showing you a flawed chart. So delete your chart. Hit select that background and delete it. We need to first fix the formula. The easiest thing to do is to fix this one. And this one's gonna be easy to fix. Let's go ahead and add up. Here, let's delete this formula, this corner formula. Just delete it completely. Like hit the formula and hit just your delete key, and it'll go away like that. Just the corner one. Is everyone doing that? Or the top one? It doesn't matter. Select one of these and delete it. Has everyone deleted one of these?
Oh.
Now let's just put the right one in there. Let's make it be a sum function. We can go up here and have it select all that information, and it's right, it's correct. Hit return, then grab that one and drag it all the way down so that all our numbers now are correct. Okay, now these are the correct numbers. And over here, we originally had, I think, 8,000. For those of you who didn't change the numbers, I think it was 8,000 to start with. Yeah, it was 8,000. Okay, so sorry about that. So now these numbers are correct. Did everyone work that out? All I did is I replaced all of these that were bad. I made one formula correct, and then I dragged it down.
I just added the 3 extra cells and
Or
then
add the 3
copied
extra
that.
cells, whatever is easiest for you, or just, and then drag it down. Add the 3
Mhm.
extra cells, which is the first thing, and drag it down. The whole point is that we now have the right numbers. The reason it matters because I wanted to show you the live charts, and then suddenly it wasn't working because the numbers weren't connected, right? Okay, so now select the date, the months, hold down either Command key if you're on a PC, on a Mac, or the Control key if you're on a PC, and select the other set of data. Okay, so we're going to do contiguous data. That, hold down, controller command, and set that. Now let's go back to insert and get your pie chart. Sorry about that. That was a weird demo. And while you are catching up with that, let me do what I was doing before, which is I'm going to grab that number and I'm going to make it much bigger. I'm going to add a 1 to make it 18,000 and hit return. Oh, come now. Are you still gonna? How? What is wrong? I've never had a chart not, I'm showing you how.
Make it 8,000 again and see if it will collapse. Maybe that wasn't enough. Because you're only.
It's,
Yeah.
why is? Yeah, it's working. It's just it wasn't a big enough of a difference.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, that formula is right. I just suddenly had this blank. Did I just not do the formula correctly? Okay, I'm gonna select these. Sorry, guys, this is supposed to be a really easy demo. demo. It's like the simplest demo I've ever made, and I'm messing it up because
Philadelphia has the lowest numbers, so any adjustments there would be much more drastically
yes.
visible.
Okay, so let's go to Philadelphia, make a big number here, and let's make this be 100,000. Let's make it humongous. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go 0, 0 and hit return. There you go. See how big Philadelphia got? It just bloated up. I was trying to go by adding just 10,000 to the orange one. It was so little that you guys could really get the message. So there you go. That's a very obvious one. So any numbers that you change in here are going to affect it. So now if I go down to just 100 in Philadelphia, the same place where I had put 100,000, now it becomes, really tiny, so tiny that it isn't even, almost visible, etc. etc. So I'm at 100,000 again and hit return, and there it is, humongous. Okay, so this is a live chart. In the best of circumstances, meaning that you had it correct at the beginning. We hadn't really corrected it at the beginning, then sorry for that mess. But now that it's live, you can be correcting and changing numbers, and the chart will change with you. Say that someone came in with, oh, I forgot this receipt. I actually sold 15,000 the other day, or, whatever. The numbers change with you. Now, any questions before I move on? Did that work now for everyone? Did everyone correct their formulas? And is it going well that your charts have fluctuated? Give me a yes for everyone for whom this is working. Okay, thumbs up. Yes is everywhere. Lauren, Arisbeth, Gustavo, Susanna. Perfect. All right, you got it. So now, are you stuck with this chart? No, we're not stuck with this chart at all. In fact, we can make this chart. The first thing that I wanted to say is that you can actually move this chart, because over here it's kind of tiny. And the whole point is that if you're ever going to print this page, the whole point is to show the numbers so that it's much easier to read than here. Let's go back to a normal number. It's still bigger, but let's give it 10,000 so it's not so overwhelming in comparison to others. So there we go. Now I gave it 1,000, whatever. So the reason you're showing this chart and not that is because what you're trying to do is to give people a quick glance at the numbers and immediately be able to see what's doing better, what's selling more, or in this case, it's travel expenses. Where are you spending more money? Is it worth it there in comparison to your sales and stuff like that? So if you would never paint the page just like that, the whole point is in a PowerPoint, you might show this one and talk about it. If you need all the detail, they have that one, but normally you wouldn't have a chart printed next to its data. So we're going to move it. So we're going to right click on this guy and we're going to move it. And then we're going to move it to a new sheet. We're going to make a new sheet and call this one, let's give it a name. Let's call it pie chart. The sheet's going to have that name. So we're making a new sheet. We're going to say, okay. And here it is. Now it's in its full glory. Let me really quickly do that here. I need to fix. By the way, I just want to show you something about how great the Mac. Let me just show you for a second, because on the PC, I've been looking at the PC only and not noticing it, but look what the Mac was doing. I just now am looking at the Mac version. The Mac was telling me something is wrong. See this little triangle that's appearing here? I don't know if you guys noticed, but I had been paying only attention to this one, but those triangles are telling me something's wrong. If I click on that, when you see that little triangle, they're like, nothing's wrong, like badly calculated, but there's something inconsistent. And then I click on it, it gives me a little warning. And if I click on that warning, it's telling me this formula is omitting adjacent cells. It's basically telling something's missing here. The Mac was warning me, while the PC did not warn me that something was wrong. Had I been demoing it on this side, I might have caught on sooner. And if I double click, it's telling me, hey, this is weird. You shouldn't, it's not incorrect. This is the addition of that, but something seems wrong here, and it's allowing me to fix it. And now it's all happy. See that little thing went away? Now I can just drag down and fix that. So that's kind of interesting that I didn't get that that I didn't get that warning on the PC. But anyway, now you know what that little triangle there is. It's usually something Excel can tell there's nothing incorrect, but something doesn't seem right. And you click on that little warning sign and now it's gone. That little arrow is gone because now this is consistent. Okay. All right. So I'm going to really quickly do the same thing here so that I have both of my charts. Oh, sorry, insert. I click twice because on the PC you click twice, on the Mac you click once. And I'm going to go for the 3D chart. Now I'm going to right click and move it to its own sheet, which I'm going to call pie chart. Say okay, okay, caught up. So here we are on the pie chart on both sides. All right, you're not stuck with these charts. Notice that once you click on the pie chart, and by the way, now since we only have this in this chart, all of these numbers appeared. All this, not these numbers, this toolbar appeared. Let me go and undo here before we move this into its new page. Let me go backwards to before I move this in this page. Sheet 1, sheet 2. When I was in here, if I had a chart in here, I would have had to double click on it for all those tools to appear, because you see in this page, there is no chart tool available. There's no chart tool available. Those chart tools only appear if you're selecting a chart. So in this page, which is only a chart, then the moment I click on it, all my chart tools appear. There we go, chart design or chart format, okay? But they don't appear to you if you're not, if you don't have a chart selected. All right, so now that we have a chart selected, we can make a couple different choices. The first thing is, okay, we got a basic 3D pie chart, but look at how many versions of 3D pie charts I could have. I can, in the Mac, you click on this little area to see all of the choices. On the PC, you click on this arrow there to see all the choices, okay? Just shows you things a little bit differently. And here I can hover. I'm not clicking, I'm just hovering. And it's showing me different possible ways of how I can see this chart so that I can choose which one I like better. So like if you have a lot of space, do you prefer to see right now 9%, 15%, 25%? See how it's showing you those? Or do you want to see the city names? Or do you prefer, like here, you have to look down and go, oh, that little tiny box that's yellow is Los Angeles. And the tiny little green box is Philadelphia, but it's very similar to the Chicago green. Which one is Philadelphia? Which one is Chicago? But if you choose this one, then there it basically tells you Philadelphia, Chicago, LA. It just puts the names right next to it. See how this might be a better one, don't you think?
It's not just that I'm colorblind that I think Chicago and Philadelphia are the same place.
It is very similar, yeah. And you have to consider as a designer, I'm a graphic designer, as a designer, you have to consider those choices that people who are colorblind, you can make it really cute and pretty, but it won't work. So right now I'm liking this one that has the cities next to them, but I've left the percentages, and I kind of like the percentages as well. But when I go to the percentages, then I don't have the cities, and none of these options are giving me both cities and percentages, right? I've got either one or the other. This one here is not so bad. I've got the cities, got all these shadows that are in the way. I kind of feel like this one's the best one, but I'd also like to see the percentages. So how about we choose this one right there? So I clicked on it this time, and now it's my choice. Now it's a set choice, right? But I'd like to add the percentages because the thought, here's the choice. I'm going to go into the Mac. Here's the choice with percentage, different choices. And here's the choice with just percentages. And here's the choice with the cities. So how can I combine to have both choice of percentages and city? It's actually a little bit of a different angle or whatever, but I'd like to see both. So you don't have to be set with the layouts that they're allowing you to have. You can choose other layouts. Here, there's other preset layouts, or you can add elements of your own. So first, let's go see if there's some other layouts here that might work for me. I'm going to hover over this one. No, not good enough. How about this one? So now all the now the layout's changing and giving me different options. I don't like that one. How about this one? How about this one? How about this one? No, I kind of like best the one that I have. I just want to add an element there. Okay. And the element that's missing is the percentage. So I can go to add chart elements and I can say, well, data labels. I'd rather have the date that the chart title, which we haven't changed our chart title yet. Data levels, legends. I seem to be on none for legends. How about I put them over here? Of the, oh, you know what it's giving me? It's just giving me, it's not giving me the percentages. That was just a matter of layout. So I'm still not finding the percentages anywhere.
There it was. It said percentage date.
Yeah, but I'm not seeing them. Is it too big?
Percentage data label best.
Yeah, I
fit.
see that, but when I hover over it, it's not giving me the percentage. I don't see the percentages on it, so I'm wondering why. Normally I go with the basic setup. Let me see if I go with the basic setup, which is the first one that they gave us, which was the first one that we ended up with. Now I think the first one that they came up with this one. Yeah. I'm not sure why the percentages isn't showing up, even though I'm pointing to it. Things are not working for me today, guys.
Mhm.
It's percentage data label best fit, but it's not giving me the percentages. And when I go to the elements, I want to add titles and labels, but it doesn't give me the choice. It's giving me a better way of how to set them. But it's, see how, yeah, it's giving me, it's weird. It's like it's overwriting it, because when I go in there, I'm seeing them in the middle. It says Philadelphia, but they're in the same colors. It's doing some bizarre stuff. And here is just giving me the same one, San Francisco and Dallas. It's not giving me the option for the percentages. I don't know. Options, legend options. It's not even showing me. Are you guys seeing something different to me? Is this my VDI going weird? Because it's not even showing me my rights, my stuff. Or is it you guys? Or is it just me? No?
Some close.
Things seem to be fine on my end.
Right here, I'm seeing top right, like it's not reading well. So I'm wondering if it's not reading well because of what I'm doing. I'm going to select the data. Okay. Can't seem to figure out why it's not giving me the percentages, but I'll figure it out. And oh, there we go. Now I got the percentages and the color. Okay, so what I did is I went and I changed my layout. I changed to this layout and then I chose this one. Okay, so I went to the quick layout. I chose the one that shows me percentages, which is that one. The second one. Here we go. And then I clicked on this format that looked better. So now I'm getting San Francisco 15, Los Angeles 14, Chicago. Okay, so that I had to combine both, but was in the layout plus the style. There we go. That's what I had to do. And I like that better. All right. It also works with this one, also has percentages in there. Choose a layout and then you hit the style that you want it to have. All right. I can close this formatting one now. That's better. All right. You can also switch row and column. Before we had the numbers or the columns, we can go ahead and have it switch to that. And in pie charts, this doesn't work. In bar charts, this works really well. Let me give you an example. I'm going to click here and make a pie chart, a bar chart in this one so that we have a different set of data. So here I'm going to make a bar chart. Let's go with 3D. No, not step column. Let's go with, let me undo that, to 3D straight column. Okay, so that one. Okay, so now I'm just showing you really quickly without showing you the rest of the details. So here's this one here. And if I'm showing San Francisco, LA, Philadelphia down there, and numbers, if I switch the column data, now it's showing me January, March, and February with the cities down there. So it's just decided to show me a different type of information. So why does this matter? Well, here I'm comparing San Francisco to LA to Philadelphia, right? So definitely much more sales in LA than in Philadelphia. And these are all the months. When I switch this, now what I'm really comparing is how do we do in January across all of my cities? How do we do in February across all of my cities? Depending on what I'm trying to analyze, I might want one or the other. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So, there's a reason why, depending on what you're trying to talk about or share. Now, when I try to switch a pie chart, it doesn't work because pie chart it's just this one set of data only that it has, but this one has much more data that it can switch. Okay. Now for the colors over here, I could go ahead and switch to a better set that might help someone like, think. The colors that it's allowing me to change are clearly different, but not very different. Now this one here is a bit more stark, so it's not so hard to distinguish, but still two of them are hard. But notice that it's still amongst the greens and the oranges, right? It's basically a small subset of colors. Now this is commanded by the theme I'm in. So the theme is, I kind of showed you really quickly the other day, a theme, and the theme is something that I'm going to be able to find somewhere else under page layout themes. And it so happens that the colors for this theme that I'm in, which is WISP, has those kind of colors. But if I want to go for totally different colors, I can go and come over here and go for really different colors. Now that is gonna work. Okay. Blue, green, reds, that's going to work differently. So you can come over to the themes and make a completely different set of colors available that has to do with themes. If I
That
go
one I
back,
can actually see them all.
yeah, exactly. So it might look more or less cute if you want, but at least it's got much more, so now I go back to the chart tools and now I'm presented with these kind of colors that I can play around with, which are the office theme. I've changed the theme for my entire document. By the way, the entire document theme colors changed. Okay. So it's not just the pie chart. So you have to be careful. If you change the themes, you're changing everything, but you have access to other colors. All right. Back to the chart. On this one, somehow we ended up without a chart title because of the changes that I made. So maybe I want to add a chart title again above the chart over there, right? And now I'm going to just go ahead and write in there. What was this one? Travel expenses. Travel expenses. Okay, so that you might have not lost the chart, but with all my different changes when I was trying stuff, I had lost it. So I just went to the add chart element and I added a chart element in again, and I can tell it where I wanted it and stuff like that. And I just added one above the chart and I put it in there. So etc. All right. So you're not now. The last thing you can do is that you can still change your chart type. You can still decide at this point, after all the work you did, you can still go over here and say, well, how about if I get a totally different chart? And you go over here and make a line chart or make a column or clustered or some other thing like that. And then say, okay. And then your whole chart changed once again. Okay. All of this is still live. I'm going to go back to where I came from and I'm going to go back to Philadelphia. And again, I'm going to say that this is 100,000, which is a humongous number. And even though it's on a different page, see how big Philadelphia just got? This is not a very good design. Let's me go back to pie chart again so that we can see. Let's go back to the same chart that we had before. Look at how huge Philadelphia just got. Okay. So even though it's on a different page, it's still linked. All right. Just wanted to show you that. Okay. Anything that is or isn't working for you guys around charts? Go ahead and delete this one or go back to the data and create another one like I did here and try making a bar chart and then playing around with types of bar charts that are available. There's inside of bar charts or column charts, there's just so much variety there. Now, most of the rest of the charts that are very specific are kind of fun and funky, but they don't necessarily work. My recommendation is to steer clear, unless you're trying to be very graphic, of charts that are very unclear, because the whole point of making a chart is to make it easier for people to understand your data. And unless you're, the National Geographic or something like that, that has a very clear way, or, a high gloss magazine or whatever, that has a very clear way of how to make this meaningful, then I look at this chart and it's as useless as taking a quick gander at this information. I still have no idea what's, more
I was certain you were
important.
going to end that sentence with "make any damn sense."
I'm a teacher. I can't do that, but you're welcome to say that and I'll agree. Okay. So be careful with all of the funky charts. Play around with them because it's they're fun, but usually there's a reason that these others are there, like certain types of, see, some of them is not even, you need to combine it with a different type of data. Look at this one. This one's kind of interesting. The map. It's going to ask you for location and stuff like that, right? So you can't, there's just some funky ones. Mainly stick to these. Line charts are good. If you're trying to show trends, this would be a good one. If you're not trying to show trends, how useful is this, right? But here you can see that you're doing, going up and down. Of course, the colors here still aren't very useful, but anyway. So I highly recommend sticking with the basic column charts. They're the easiest ones. Here I gave it a different style, so it's got different sets of just straight colors. At most, work with the colors to make them easier to understand, and with whatever elements are needed to make it easier to do something with. So here is a way to include a chart with the data. Okay, if you wanted the data to be available to the people who read it, then this would be useful. Anyway. I have, I hope I won't have a fever or anything, and I've done great. I was asking, am I going to be okay to teach? But I haven't felt anything, so hopefully I don't feel anything later. I have to ask you to go ahead and save these, play around with them. There's all kinds of numbers here. You can try to attack this first thing and format it to make it look like what we got here in order to challenge yourself. The chart can be moved back. We can move this one to another. Oh, one more thing I want to show you really quickly. You know how yesterday I was showing you how you could move from chart to chart by right-clicking and saying move this. So this is for people who missed the other day. You can move this to another file, and you guys don't have another one open. You can't do that. But in this case, I have these. If you had another file open, I'm going to show you. I'm going to stop sharing the PC. I'm going to show you both. PC and Mac won't work, so I need to share only two PC things. So two Mac things. So I'm going to go with this one's a Mac one, and where's the? It's back there. Sample file out of function plus this one. Okay, so here I have two different. Am I sharing you both? Yeah. So here I have two different Excel. So two different Excel files. If I want to grab this pie chart here instead of just moving it there, I could also just grab and drag and drop it in here. And there you go. I have moved it. So if you have two open files, two different workbooks, you could actually drag and move the pie chart from one to the next. And here's the cool thing. Now they are linked to each other. This is two separate files, guys. This isn't even the same file. But if I were to change a number here and say I go over to this San Francisco and I give this one from 4,000 to 40,000 or 400,000, let's make it huge and hit return. Oh, come down. There it is. Boom. See how it changed in a different file? This is still related to that one. Pretty cool, isn't it?
Mhm.
Because this is referring to that chart. Okay, now you might not have two files open, so you can do that. You can't do that, but just showing you how completely amazing it is, how connected these things are. I'm going to undo that. And I know I'm past by 5 minutes. Okay, I wanted to show you one more thing, but I'll keep quiet and I'll show you that one more thing next Monday when we're going to go into some complex formulas. And on Tuesday, where we're gonna keep working, we're gonna bring one VLOOKUPs and macros and stuff like that. So stay tuned for some good stuff. I'm gonna stop my share. And I'm not going to teach anything new. So if you're done and set, you can leave. But if you have questions and you want to hang out to ask me some questions, I'm here and I'm available for questions. Anything you want to try different, anything that's not working. If you kind of lag behind on something, on everything that we did today that you might want to ask again or ask more. And if nothing, then just goodbye.
Diana,
Sí, Gustavo.
yo tengo una pregunta, pero es un tema diferente. Es como más de Photoshop. Bueno,
Ok, entonces espera un poquito y a ver si alguien nos va a preguntar algo de Excel. All right, so his question is Photoshop, so I'm going to hang out and answer him. But first, if there's any Excel question, I'll prioritize Excel questions. If there's nothing there, then toodaloo.
Okay.
See you guys on Monday.
Bye.
Okay. So Gustavo, what's up? What's your question?
agarré la suscripción del Adobe
Sí.
y me llegó el mensaje con instrucciones, pero me bloqueé porque a la hora de las imágenes que ellos mandan de las instrucciones,
Ajá.
no entré al programa de Adobe, pero no está igual.
A ver, ¿querés hacer un share y te trato de ayudar?
Sí, Diana, por favor, si tiene tiempo. No la agarro muy ocupada.
No.
Ok.
Por ahora todavía no parezco tener ningún
Oh,
problema.
ok.
Espera un segundito que quiero asegurarme que dejé el material correcto aquí. Déjame que cierro mi VDI,
Sí.
así no me causa problema. VDI siempre cuando tengo prendido causa más estragos.
Ok.
Así que espérame un segundito. Estoy tratando de apagarlo y no se apaga. Ay, VDI, come on. No sé por qué. No quiere. A ver. Ay, no me cierra. Close window. Bueno, ahí se
Sí
fue.
pasa.
Y ahora power off VDI. Shut down VDI. Disconnect. Log out. Y ahí ya salí correctamente. Ok. Estoy ahora mirando el tuyo.
Sí,
Ok. Once you're signed in. A ver. Mostrarme las instrucciones.
Aquí está. Este es el mensaje. Que me suscriba y que abra una cuenta personal. Ya lo hice. Todo esto lo hice. Y voy aquí. Dice, una vez que hayas entrado, empieza a instalar y dale clic en instalar, ¿verdad? pero
Ajá.
me parece que así está la imagen y luego está la. Pero fíjese
¿Vos
que
en qué computadora estás usando?
es una PC.
¿Es una PC con Windows 10 o esto es Windows 11 ahora?
Está del 11, ya.
Ah, yo no he usado la 11 todavía. Yo porque la veo diferente digo, contame. No,
Oh,
no, está bien, es igual, seguro que es igual, pero lo miré y digo, tiene otro aspecto. Ok,
mm,
disculpa, seguí, no te quería interrumpir. Puedes decir, applications from the Creative Cloud Desktop after the initial download. Ok, so, volvé para arriba, quiero ver qué son los pasos que dijiste que ya hiciste.
sí.
El primero,
Primero aquí, vete al sitio, ya lo hice, y
de
regístrate.
Siren, abriste con tu cuenta
Sí.
personal, select account personal, perfecto. Y ahora estás, acá es donde la cosa no funciona.
Cuarta. Sí, o ya sign in, you can
Ok.
install it.
Entonces, tenemos que abrir tu Creative Cloud. A ver, request remote control, así ya que estamos, si hace falta te ayudo, decime que sí.
Sí,
Ok. Entonces, espérate que voy a parar el recording, porque total esto no le importa
Ok,
a nadie
está
más. I'm gonna stop the recording here.